So, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Have the Race Gone for the premiere event in a new series here on the channel. It is the TSR GT300 Championship, a single class Japanese inspired GT3 series, running mostly and mainly some quite known faces here, at least from the channel. A good mix of drivers from the TSR series of before, and some well-known faces from the NES thrown in there as well, and then a well-known superstar as well in the form of Shoma. We are just moments away from qualifying, and it is of course I, the sick boy, who have been struck by the flu indeed. I thought my voice was bad when I did the nuke shot with a hangover on Sunday, and it's just all the worst today. It's horrible. So I hope it's going to be okay. Of course, a very warm welcome to everyone. That goes for Nils, Storm Pacer, and Welsh, of course. Very nice to see you all. And as mentioned before, a warm welcome to this new series. This is the first series that we will be live broadcasting in its entirety here on the channel, and that also means, of course, that neither Traus or I will be taking part in the actual racing here in the series. We will just be doing the broadcasting for once, which gives us all the very cool features that you have seen us use in the IGTL broadcast and stuff. We're going to be utilizing them here, and we're going to be getting even better at nailing those replays and everything. Hopefully that'll heighten the quality of the content on the channel. Anyways, we are running with a little bit of a special qualifying format for this series, and I'd like to take you through it, if nothing else, then real quickly. The qualifying will start with an actual race start, so that's the opening 8 laps, 7 laps of the race are dedicated for qualifying, with lap 1 being an out lap, then lap 2 is going to be the first flying qualifying lap. Lap 3 is then an in lap, coming in for tires and fuel, and lap 4 is an out lap. Lap 5 and 6 will be counting as flying laps, and then an in lap again on lap 7, and then of course out lap and formation lap on lap 8, with the actual race start on lap 9. And very nice to see Martin as well. Perhaps one of the less known NES faces, being one of the late joiners here through the 4th season, but already making a name for himself, and also joining in late as an extra or as a reserve here, standing in for GRM Bandit, if I'm not completely mistaken. Martin Hersen, he is in the Jaguar, the F-Type Group 3. It's a lovely car to look at in the TVR livery made by Off Apple. I think it looks very good. It's indeed one of those nuke shot entered cars. Same goes for CJ, if I'm not completely mistaken. Perhaps not. No, that's his own vert entered car, I think, with the Olympiacos livery. But Joe of the Fire is in nuke shot entered number 27 PlayStation Corvette. We have Wake CU in the Nissan GTR of Sugar Rush competition. Same goes for the Porsche driven by Whiteflight, also of the same team, and very similar livery to those two. And I think we are getting close to qualifying time now, ladies and gentlemen. I did try not to give too much build-up time, because I figured that practice isn't necessarily the most exciting thing to watch, at least not if it's an entire half an hour. It'll be a very long time for me to do such an amount of talking as well. With that said, we are getting close to qualifying time, so just think we're waiting for the last signal. So now 10 seconds, and for the first time we will go through this, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, a little bit of a special qualifying format. And also worth noting that we are running the MotoGP layout of Suzuka today, which means that we'll be using the extra chicane after the hairpin on the way down to a spoon curve. It's basically in the middle through 200R. So a little bit of a special layout. I don't think I've ever raced it myself, and it's gonna be interesting to see how they do. So, mind you, lap 1 is the out lap. Lap 2 is very much so just the first flying qualifying lap. And we'll see the cars pitting in on lap 3. Lap 4 will be an out lap. Then 5 and 6 are flying laps. Cars will be pitting in yet again on lap 7, and then called out in the correct grid formation on lap 8, which will in turn also be the formation lap. And then lap 9, as they cross the line for the 9th lap, it will be the first lap of racing. Let's take you through the contestants. Here is GT Welsh and on the days that it won't be Welsh racing, it'll be the other TSR regular, that is VRS Stick, taking care of that car. So a strong pair of contenders, those two indeed. Wake CU, he is in the number 55 Nissan GTR, staying very true to the Japanese roots of the series. And I would think that it's some kind of Japanese candy that's being advertised for there. Then a very well-known face here on the channel. It is, of course, the witty Professor Joe of the Fire. Once more in the number 27 car, as we've getting used to seeing him. He is in the Chevrolet Corvette, which he did a good job of running with in the 3rd season of the Nuke Shot Endurance Series when we saw him join. He's in the Corvette, and we're looking forward to seeing how he will be doing. Of course, Martin in the Jag. It will be really interesting to see how he fares along. Very nice livery for that, the TVR liveried Jag. Then it's Jimmy in the Kakai Huracan. Lovely livery once more. Gotta love that Kakai stuff, yellow and black, and it fits the Lambo perfectly. Another car that we've seen too much either through the series that we've been broadcasting, so nice to see someone running the Huracan Group 3 car. And it is the Swedish Survivor T5 Black in the Lexus RCF GT3. And White Flight, as mentioned before, in the other one of those Sugar Rush performance cars, similar to the livery of the GTR of Wake CU. Of course, it is the Porsche 911 RSR, the number 52 car of White Flight, our Norwegian friend. Then it is the Mad Greek. CJ Crazy John is here, and he's in the Renault RS01. Storm Pacer, a well-known face from the TSR Multi-GT Championship. We did quite well indeed in the GT500 class. He is in the Ferrari 458. Then there's Off Apple in the very much Nuke Shot sponsored BMW M6. It's Sam Digby in the Ford Mustang. Very nice Golf livery on that one indeed. And then last but very much not least, it is Shomar in the AMG GT3. Very nice 10X livery as well. And very true to the GT300 style. Anyway, we have the first couple of lap times coming in here. It's GT Welsh And it's Joe of the Fire with a 2 minutes and 2.2, so that's a very, very quick time for Joe of the Fire indeed. So of course, in-laps coming in now. Martin Heusten here, still not able to best the time of Joe of the Fire. Now let's go have a look just on the live timing sheet. Certainly a very strong time indeed from Joe of the Fire. As we see Digby with a 2.2035. Certainly not bad indeed. And Chomar on his first lap, that's a 2:017, so a new provisional pole from Chomar. Not really a huge surprise, but he manages to best Joe of the Fire by almost half a second, actually just around half a second. And then further 2/10 down, it's GT Welch in a provisional third position, it looks. And as we see the drivers come through that MotoGP chicane. And that wasn't really what I meant. You'll have to have me excused on any coughing or, yeah. As I mentioned before, I do have the flu and it really sucks. But that's how it is. So Chomar is provisionally on pole position. Mind you, the drivers started with a very low amount of fuel, and we have today's race director, VRS Stick. He's called the pits open, and you've also seen him call that it's for tires and fuel. And another thing is that only the bottom two drivers today, 11th and 12th, will be able to take tires. The top 10 for the race start will have to use the same tires they used in qualifying, or they used to end qualifying. So that's an interesting one indeed here. It's Joe of the Fire out very close to Wake indeed. Of course, everyone's pitting in here. Storm Pacer using the hard compound, I think, is the only one he's pitting in on the hards. I think he's very much contemplating putting on the mediums on his 458 there. Lovely Clockwork Motorsports livery indeed. So now an out lap, lap 4, and then 2 flying laps, which is of course 5 and 6, another in lap on lap 7, and once we get to that in lap, we will also make sure that that we keep you up to date with the live qualifying times. So did you get a in the know of the actual qualifying standings? We're seeing CJ here taking it very easy on his outlap, really trying to save his tires. You would expect it to be a good idea to try to keep some life in him. Anyway, so we're gonna go on board with GT Welsh just for the final part of the warm-up lap here. Plenty of clean track space for him. Joe of the Fire seems to have taken it quite easy. There's the final chicane. And now one of those laps that are really gonna count for GT Welsh. And in turn, of course, for the rest of the field, as they make their way onto the next flying Q lap. And mind you, it's tires and fuel at just ×1, the normal burn rate, if you could say so. Now Welsh on his way through the final part of the S's, and that's up towards Dunlop now. And then it's the Degners. Seemingly getting a good exit here, but he's a second down on his personal best under the bridge. And then it's of course the hairpin, and then you'll get to see that special MotoGP chicane. It comes right round here, and then left and right again. A little bit easier on the exit. But it does give an extra overtaking opportunity here around Suzuka, which is a place that traditionally can be a little bit hard for overtaking. Mind you, of course, it is possible, but it seems to be limited to a couple of spaces on the track, really, and mostly it's down here at the chicane. And then also perhaps in turns 1 and 2 it's also possible, but also always with some kind of risk. And yeah, I agree, Nils, it's a very, very nice chicane indeed. And it's actually not something I would ever have thought of really myself, I think, using that in a race. Now GT Welsh on his final qualifying lap. Let us see if anyone can better what times have already been set. I think Wake CU is on a personal best. He'll be at 2:02.5, so that's a probably good time for him. What about Joe of the Fire? He's coming through here. Oh, he's not gonna better. He is half a second down on his previous best time. Then it's Jimmy coming around here, but I think he's gonna be quite some time back indeed. Yeah, he's over 3 seconds down on his personal best. Next up is Storm Pacer, and that's a 2:03 something, but still better than what he managed to put in before. White Flight as well with a 2:03 that was still better than what he put in before as well. And then it's T5 Black, but he was a long time down on his best time so far. Now it's CJ. I think CJ's on a personal best. This could be a really good time indeed. Let us see. He's gonna come past for a 2:02.3. I think it's a personal best for CJ, but not good enough to take the pole position away from Jamar. It's off Apple. I think just passed. Same goes for Martin. Here goes Shamar. I think he's on a purple lap so far. Let's see what this is gonna be. A 2:01 point. Oh, that's a 2:01 dead. Jesus Christ. A blistering pace being set down by Shamar, and really distancing the rest of the field so far here in the qualifying session. So Welsh 1.5 seconds down. He is probably not gonna better anything on this lap. See if it'll be the same for Wake coming into the final sector here. It's just 1.5 tenths down. I suppose we can go on board with the Belgian through the final chicane. It is Wake CU. See if he can better his time. Seems to get a really good run through chicane, against a little twitchy and lose it into the gravel trap there. Oh, the curse of the commentator, and he really cocks that up at the absolute final moment. Next up is, of course, the witty professor of Joe of the Fire. Almost manages to better his lap so far, but really doesn't at the end by 56 thousandths of a second. Now it's Jimmy, also very close to bettering his lap. I think Storm Pacers have a little bit of a problem there, but manages to just dig off a tenth from his best so far. Slight improvement from White Flight as well. Now let's see T5 Black. And he crosses the line. Oh, we didn't see that. We were too late, simply. Now CJ once more upon a personal best, and he shaves another 4 tenths off his time. And I think that takes CJ into the 2:01s as well. But it doesn't take him past Shomar, indeed. Now, Apple, we saw him. Martin, we sadly didn't see him. Either. Now it's Sam Digby. And he's very close to bettering his time as well. And I think Shomar must have made some kind of mistake on that final lap. He or perhaps just known that he had the pole position. Anyway, live timing sheet is on. And with the fastest lap so far, of course, is the 2:01 dead from Chomar. I'd imagine CJ to be second so far with the 2:02 dead, and he very much is. Joe of the Fire, no, and then Sam Digby with a 2:02.1. He is third fastest so far. Joe of the Fire with a 2:02.2. Then it's Welch with a 2:02.4, and it's Wake CU with the 2:02.5. So a lot of close cars there. And with the midfield, a 2:03.2 indeed for Storm Pacer. And White Flight with a 2:03.5, it seems. Another 2:03.5 for Martin, and 2:03.8 for Off Apple, and a 2:04.5 for Jimmy indeed. And that, I think, makes up those 12 spaces. So pit is open, and mind you that the top 10 will not be allowed to do anything else but fuel here. Let's see if the drivers take notice of this. No tires for Joe of the Fire. And of course they are just to be waiting here and for the get-go. Yeah, I think Storm, you should have heard Martin and our good friend John here as well, Jonathan, who's also just joined the chat. I think you could have a good discussion club about the twitchiness of that Ferrari 458. And by the way, welcome to Jonathan, or John for Games. A very warm welcome, and a warm welcome to the TSR GT300 Championships. We are waiting to get the cars underway. And by that I mean we're waiting to get the final fueling done for all the cars, and then by one they're going to be released onto the formation lap, which is what we are having now. And I think it's going to be an interesting one indeed, as we're watching here with White Flight, GT Welsh now parked on track, waiting for the rest of the field to join them. Well, I can understand it as well, Storm, because I think none of us are really used to that chicane whatsoever. And I think all muscle memory is just used to giving it the full hammer all the way down through 200R. So I don't think anyone can really blame you on that one. Joe of the Fire still waiting. Off Apple still waiting as well. Digby in the Golf liveried Mustang, as mentioned before. And we see that the Mad Greek is here as well. Okay, so here comes the qualifying list, or the lap times. As we also mentioned before, it is of course Shamar. Then it's CJ in second position. So we're gonna have those drivers being released onto the track right about now, I guess. And of course, as mentioned before, it's Sam Digby in third position. If I recall correctly, I think it would be Joe of the Fire in fourth. Here we see the fueling now being done from Sam Digby, and of course they are waiting for their signal to actually be able to put that fuel in. I could have my doubts as to whether Joe of the Fire is supposed to be this far down the order, as we're watching the car of the witty professor, the number 27 Corvette, because what we can see in here is indeed that his best lap is, of course, a 2:02.3. There could have been a track cut that I don't know about, but and I'll gladly go through the rules and regulations again, of course, as we're gonna have an entire warm-up lap to do it on. Rules and regulations are tires and fuel ×1. It's heavy damage. We've had this special qualifying session indeed, with the lap 1 being an out lap, then a flying lap on lap 2, in lap and out lap on 3 and 4, then 2 flying laps on 5 and 6, and an in lap again on lap 7. And of course, what we're seeing now is the cars exiting the track onto the 8th lap, which will be the formation lap. And of course, in turn, this will mean that the 9th lap will be the actual first lap of racing. That apart, I think the only special thing here today, or the other special thing here today, is that we are using that special chicane on the way out from the hairpin, on the way through 200R down towards Spoon Curves. All fuel is not necessarily to 100%. The drivers have chosen themselves how much fuel they want and need in the car at this point. So the top 10 drivers were only allowed to fuel, and the bottom 2 today, that is, would also been allowed to change their tires following the qualifying session. So it's race time, I think. Joe of the Fire is pretty much slotted in there right in front of GT Welsh. Of course, it is Chomar leading them out in the Mercedes AMG GT. No surprise, really, that the French AS Monaco esports driver is on pole position, being one of the absolutely fastest drivers around on this game whatsoever. Of course, our own regular fast boy, the Mad Greek, CJ in second position. Sam Digby, who on several occasions has shown to be a very fast gentleman indeed. He is third on the grid today. So of course, Joe of the Fire, the witty professor, fourth. As I mentioned before, it's Welsh in fifth position. Wake CU, the Belgian in the Nissan GTR, he's in P6. Storm Pacer in the Ferrari for 5.8, he is 7th on the grid. In 8th, it is White Flight, our Norwegian friend. And mind you that it's the same sponsors, my car, as that 2 in front of him on Wake's GTR indeed. Then Martin Heusen is in 9th position in the Jag. Of course, the F-Type Group 3 with a TVR livery. And just in time for TVR to actually return to Gran Turismo, which is really nice, of course. Off, Apple is in 10th position with the Swedish Survivor T5 all the way down in 11th. A little bit of a surprise, perhaps. And Jimmy in the car guy Huracan rounding off the pack. So quite a bit of tire warming going on at the moment. And now as we have the field on its way down towards 130R. That of course also means that we are getting close to the actual race start. Not many seconds to go now. As Schumacher is going to lead him through the final chicane. And mind you that Schumacher is sharing a car with Dad 24DH once again in this series. So it is Schumacher to our right, but on the left-hand side of the road, to the right, it is Crazy John is here. Then it's in 5th position, Wake CU in 6th. And they're just about waiting and waiting and waiting. And here they go, I think, pretty much, yep. I think it's Welsh that gets an absolutely brilliant run. No, most certainly not. And somebody goes wide. And that is indeed Welsh that goes wide. So just as I say, he gets a brilliant run. It is indeed the curse of the commentator. Schumacher gets a brilliant run indeed. CJ away in 2nd position. Joe of the Fire now up into 3rd, having overtaken the Mustang of Sam Digby. Wake CU in 5th position. Storm Pacer up into 6th. And then it's White Flight 7th and GT Welsh in 8th position. So let's see the start once more. Let's see it from, if possible, from the start, from the car of GT Welsh, because I want to see what happened to him here. We go on board with the Welshman as he goes on the outside of Sam Digby, then has to hold off a little bit, and that, of course, what looked like a good run, and then he just goes on that AstroTurf, manages to keep it, but really loses out there, so a probably bad start, and the big loser through that beginning, through that opening couple of corners, certainly GT Welsh. He's down in 8th position now, battling out with Martin Heusen and White Flight as well. So it is in the lead, Schumacher, and he already is commanding a 2-second lead down to the Mad Greek. That is Crazy John in 2nd position. And right now, Joe of the Fire getting properly close to the Renault in front. Let's see the Corvette with a proper bit of straight line grunt as well. Does go on the inside there, side by side, and CJ makes it onto the AstroTurf, and that is Joe of the Fire up into 2nd position. And as they make their way through, that's Digby also now battling it out with CJ. Digby following that up as well. Up into 3rd. CJ certainly losing out now. Is also under pressure from Wake CU. Seems to have a little bit problems with the stability of that Renault RS1. Oh, as Digby goes on to the AstroTurf. And he's off. Sam Digby's off. And somebody else indeed behind there is off as well. Some big drama going down. Let's see what happened in behind here. So they were coming down the start, finish straight, and obviously getting quite close to one another at that point. Digby goes onto the outside and just get launched out there, and there's nothing to do really there. Poor luck for Sam Digby, loses out. So several bad situations indeed over the opening laps of the race through turns 1 and 2. Really showing to give the drivers some problems indeed. A little bit of a penalty now being dished out to Sam Digby. He is down in 8th position, of course, making it possible to return up the order a little bit for Welsh. He's now up in 6th after his turn 1 mishap. A little bit of a train developing now. It's behind White Flight in 5th position, with his teammate Wake CU in 4. And then it's CJ 3rd, Joe of the Fire in 2nd. Chomar is leading. Martin Heusen in 7th position. Sam Digby, as mentioned before, he is 8th. And a big battle now going on between Martin Heusen and Sam Digby. It's Digby on the inside. It's Heusen with the slipstream. Let's see if the grunt of the Mustang is too much, even with the slipstream. No, here comes the Jag. And manages to keep that P7 from Sam Digby. Brilliant action here on the opening couple of laps indeed. Well defended here from Martin Heusen. And now it's Wake, it's CJ and Joe of the Fire, 3 wide into turn 1. And that can't possibly go well. And it didn't for Wake CU, who got caught out just a little bit there. Let's see. He got the brilliant run. Joe of the Fire having to go very defensive. Let's go on board with Wake. And look at that, that is probably 3 wide. CJ just backing out. And then it's Wake getting caught out, but managing to keep it pretty much on track. But of course, really losing out. He's 7.5 seconds behind Chomar in the lead now. And he's lost down on some time onto Joe of the Fire and CJ. Still in a hot battle for 2nd position. 5th is still White Flight, but close under pressure from both GT Welsh, Sam Digby, Martin Heusen, and of course Storm Pacer in the Ferrari as well. Very close here. It's a 5-car dig here in between. So certainly good opportunities for some close race action here. We're going on board with Sam Digby as he gets a nice run upon GT Welsh. There's a little bit of contact on the way down towards Spoon Curve. Oh, seems to just keep it in. There's a brilliant pass from Sam Digby. And he keeps that position, takes 6th position from GT Welsh. That's a strong move indeed. Now it's Martin Heusen on the tail of Welsh as well. Is he going to be able to make the move as they come down towards 130? I don't think it is. Certainly Welsh a little stronger in that situation. I think White Flight happy indeed that he's getting left somewhat alone, at least from all this action that's going on. With a lot of kubang at the moment. In behind now, though, the slipstream is real for Sam Digby. Once more we go on board. Oh, is he gonna outbrake White Flight? There is a brilliant move from Sam Digby to take 5th position. Sterling job indeed. Let's have a look at this one more time. It's around the outside into turn 1 and then keeps it on his way into turn 2. In the Mustang, indeed, it's a very difficult one to pull off, especially on a car as strong handling-wise as the 911. With really a flying Sam Digby at the moment. In front, Chomar with a 7.2 second advantage down to 2nd place. Joe of the Fire. CJ still very, very close indeed. And Wake CU actually also managing to just tag along to this battle. He's only a couple of seconds behind. Or at least at the absolute max is what I was probably looking to say there. Let's go on board with CJ on the way into the moto chicane. Joe with a strong defensive line, not really giving CJ any opportunities. It is, of course, the newly crowned GT3 Pro champion versus the newly crowned LMP Pro champion from the Nookshot Endurance Series. Joe of the Fire and CJ. Wake still getting closer. CJ, though, very close to the bumper of Joe of the Fire. Through 130R, he's going to go for the outside into the chicane. I don't think that's going to work wonders for CJ. Though Joe of the Fire certainly looking a little bit under pressure at the moment. And goes a little deep into the chicane. And all this squabbling Siege's wake really making up time. It's a time to go 3 wide once more. Do doubt it. And of course, Chomar really getting the race and the run that he wants from all this. Oh, almost a little bit of contact between CJ and Joe of the Fire. So we can have just a short replay of that one as Joe of the Fire went very wide. That's actually extraordinarily well kept from CJ indeed, that I'd have to say. As we rejoin the Greek action. Now up through Dunlop. Oh, also very close to a small notch there, but he manages to just stay off. Respectful racing indeed between the two, but it's very, very close. Now 3 cars within half a second here, pretty much. With Wake CU also with a strong comeback indeed. It's pretty much still status quo in behind, only that Sam Digby is also catching up. Oh, CJ with a very twitchy moment on his way out the hairpin. And that might open the door for Wake CU, but Wake gets a little bit of a bad run through the chicane out to 200R and down towards Spoon now. And it seems that when he gets it right, CJ, the Renault is very fast, but it also looks like it's quite twitchy indeed. Although now he is once more very, very, very close to Joe of the Fire, who has to go defensive, who probably has to park CJ around the outside here. He's not gonna go for the move just yet. There's Joe using every centimeter of track. Still no passing opportunities really for CJ. Now Martin up into 6th. Oh, and there's a little bit of a nudge between the two, and that sends Storm Pacer flying up. That's the GT Welsh up the inside, up into 6th position. Martin now up into 7th, keeping that G5 Black, the Swedish survivor, is really surviving here. He's up into 8th position. White Flight, the big loser, through 130R there, down into 9th. And Storm Pacer, I think, having a little bit of trouble with the Ferrari 458. He's in 10th position, but still close in that battle for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th here. We're seeing all the 5 cars. That's absolutely within touching distance there. Dreadful understeer from the 458 of Storm Pacer indeed. Down in 11th, it's Off Apple. He's a bit away back. There's a little bit of a gap down to Jimmy in the Huracan, of course. And out in front, it is Shoma 74 of the Monaco esports team, driving the 10X Mercedes AMG GT3. And that's probably that's very spot on, that line indeed. He's now commanding a 10-second advantage down to Joe of the Fire. And Joe of the Fire is defending brilliantly from CJ. And it is also what we mentioned earlier, what I mentioned earlier, that it is a difficult track to overtake upon Suzuka. And especially against a driver like Joe of the Fire that certainly knows how to defend. Now CJ though is extra Spoon. And here he goes to the outside, CJ. Oh, and he goes wide as well. And is he gonna lose it? He most certainly isn't, but he does have Wake CU for company now. Are they gonna go too wide into the chicane? They're not. Wake just holds off. Seeing a lot of very respectful racing between these drivers indeed. Here is Sam Digby, a little bit on an island at the moment. 3 seconds up and 6 seconds down to Welsh in 6th position, who only has a couple of centimeters down to Martin Heusen. The Dutchman, will we see an attempt on the inside from Martin here? I think we very much will. And that's a brilliant one from Martin Heusen, perfectly executed. Takes P6 from GT Welsh. So that was a really nice one indeed, well timed, well executed, and left Welsh no real chance of defending, or at least it would have required him to go defensive much earlier and send Martin Heusen around the outside. Didn't do that. and that in turn left Martin Hursten to pass up into 6th position. Storm Pacer now back up into P8. He's gotten past both White Flight and T5. And he's seeming to get to grips with the 458, at least for now. Though T5 very close there. Oh, was there a little touch? I don't really think so. And indeed, some respectful stuff like we've seen all the way through now. CJ having lost a little bit of time. Indeed. And that in turn mean that it's Wake now very, very close to CJ. Oh, there's no space for the Belgian on his way into 130R. And CJ brings a lot of speed in through. Now in turn, let's see. Joe of the Fire, he has held on to that 2nd position for so long. He is doing very well indeed. And now CJ on the outside, and he's losing it. He's on the AstroTurf, and that is Wake CU making his way up into 3rd position. So let's see what happened there before with CJ. As he tried to follow the slipstream of Joe of the Fire, just went sideways, went slidey, went into the first corner too fast, and lost it through turn 2. Of course, he keeps that 4th position, but loses out on a couple of seconds up to Wake CU. And it's gonna be eating into his tires as well. Now Sam Digby almost within a second of CJ. And Wake CU going really strongly at the moment. He is on the tail of Joe of the Fire. Goes a little bit deep into the hairpin. Looks for the better exit. Doesn't really get it though. So Joe of the Fire, Wake CU, CJ now trying to make his way back. He's clawed back half a second since last time we checked. Now Martin 6th position, as he were before after that brilliant move up the inside of GT Welch coming into turn 1. Now Welch definitely still hanging on there as he goes quite wide on his way into Spoon. Let's go on board with Welch. Still very much within the slipstream, of course. Too far back on Martin to really be within striking distance at the moment. And just as I say that, he does get close. He certainly doesn't get close enough though. You see which car has the cornering advantage. I think I'd also be safe to say that it's Martin with the straight line advantage. Now it's Wake CU, first of the pitters. So that's Wake, and he's rejoined the track in 10th position. And that's with a fresh set of mediums for him. White Flight is down in P9, so the Scandinavian battle is still on between himself and T5 Black. Seems for the moment that Storm Pacer has just slightly disappeared out front in comparison to these two. And a warm welcome and hello to Gugas, or as you've chosen to call yourself, Houdini Myers 99. It certainly is nice to see you in chat, indeed, mate. And a good evening as well to you. We're gonna be watching this Scandinavian battle for a second. It's White Flight, the Norwegian, against the Swedish survivor, that is T5 Black, right in front. White Flight is 9th at the moment. T5 nearly gets it a little wide, and then also at least loses the early apex, but you wouldn't expect that Lexus to be as strong as the Porsche through the corners. Here, White Flight now with a very good run. Dives to the inside, but also just ups to hold off. Coming into 130R, and here comes the dive, however, into the final chicane. Oh, that's well defended from the Swedish survivor. T5 holding on to 8th position. Storm Pacer now pitting in. So still half a tank of fuel left for Storm Pacer pretty much. Just about 19 laps of racing left for him. Off-Apple is also into the pits. And out goes Storm Pacer, just a little bit of fuel. And then of course, fresh mediums. Here's Shamar now with us. 15.8, almost 16 second advantage down to Joe of the Fire. That is really a devastating lead indeed. Joe of the Fire 2 seconds down to CJ. So the consistency of the witty professor is really showing here once more. Sam Digby, after the pit stop, of course, of Wake CU's, made his way up to 4th position. It'll be interesting to see where he stands when everybody's had their first stops over with. CJ really gaining through this sector. And once again, Joe of the Fire with the superior straight line speed and a better exit, just gaining a little bit on his way down to 130R. Still, we haven't really seen Joe of the Fire make any grave mistakes. CJ's already been a little bit wide through turns 1 and 2. The little trip onto the AstroTurf. There gets a slide on as well, losing a bit of time. Now Sam Digby very close to getting into the slipstream of the Renault in front. He's not quite there, I'd say, but he's really close indeed. Kudos to Sam Digby so far for giving a great showing in a car that really doesn't have its fortes around here. The Mustang, I certainly expect it to be better elsewhere than here on Suzuka, but managing to keep it in 4th position at the moment, and managing also to keep the pressure on CJ indeed. And that is good work from Sam Digby. These guys have around 10 seconds down to Martin Hurson and Welsh. Now Wake CU has gone past T5. White Flight has been into the pits. And of course Wake would need to get past rather quickly if he is not to get done by all this through traffic. Or did White Flight just make some kind of mistake? It's a good question indeed. It's T5 in 8th position anyway. White Flight 9, Storm Pacer is 10. It's Jimmy in 11th, and then Off-Apple fresh out of the pits in last position at the moment, but with a stop more than the car in front. Shamar still staying out, still 18 seconds in front of Joe of the Fire in 2nd position. CJ very close now indeed. Or it's actually really close between CJ and Sam Digby, who's been further catching up. And this time around, I suspect that CJ might have a problem because the straight line speed of that Ford Mustang is absolutely no joke. Just see how it's hammering in on the Renault. Oh, he's on the outside. We've seen him do it before. There's a little bit of contact. Oh, that's well kept by Sam Digby. Very well kept. That could have gone very, very wrong easily, but it didn't. And seems like CJ is having problems with his tire wear, I'd imagine, compared to the drivers around him. Certainly seems that he's lost some pace compared to both Joe of the Fire and Sam Digby as the first stint has been going on. And I think these drivers are getting close towards the end of their first stint by now. It is indeed a battle between a bathtub and a torpedo. That's a good way to put it. Gugas right now, the torpedo is defending well, but somehow Sam Digby is managing to get that bathtub around Suzuka very quickly indeed. But you just see every time there's a technical corner, like Spoon just loses out a little bit, down to 130R once more. And just loses out on the exit. That vital time that just makes it really impossible to really get close enough. Let's see here on the chicane exit. Sam Digby, he's within 0.2 of CJ. CJ going very defensive, very early indeed. And now CJ kind of has chosen his line, and he knows it. And that means Sam Digby is up the inside, and for now he's passed. And will it be any cutbacks from CJ? It certainly won't. Sam Digby up into third position, overtaking CJ in the Renault RS01 GT3. And that is a strong one indeed from Sam Digby. And all this fighting here is helping Joe of the Fire so far. He's now sticking on to that 1.5 second advantage. CJ, of course, still really close to Digby. And it's Martin in 5th position as well. But he's 11 seconds down on CJ. Welch still pretty close to him. Wake has made his way up to 7th position. But also would be seeming to go for a pit stop more than everyone else. So he might be losing out on that strategy in the end anyways. Be interesting to see. Out in front, of course, still Shomar 74. He's absolutely flying at the moment with a gap. And it's rarely do you see this with a driver that is, while not being an ET type alien like Shomar here, Joe of the Fire is certainly no slouch. But he's really getting his hands full. And to be fair, no one is really able to follow the Frenchman here. But it does really look like the Mustang is doing better than you would expect it to around the corners. Of course, setups being allowed in this series, and that would certainly help it. And it certainly also does have a very, very, very high top speed. So Digby holding on to 3rd position now from CJ, actually also being able to extend the gap even a little bit. And that's just pretty strong indeed. Let's check in with GT Welch in 6th position. He's holding on to Martin Hersen, but there is just around 1.5 seconds between him. Wake CU still in 7th position. He's closing the gap up to GT Welch for now, it seems. And he, of course, would also have some kind of grip advantage that he should take care of, take advantage of as long as it lasts. White Flight in 8th. He's lost a lot of time up to Wake. And indeed, Storm Pacers also had his fair share of problems, I think. Might also have been that he has been in for his first pit stop. We're just gonna go into the detailed action. Yeah, with that 2:30 lap, you would expect him to have been in the pits already. He is in P9. It's T5 in 10. It's Jimmy in 11th, and it's off Apple in 12th position. So Martin lives in a town called Wavhuizen. I think that's pretty close to how it's pronounced, isn't it? Wavhuizen? Martin Wavhuizen. Now, okay, I see five houses. I get it. Good one. What's up, Mike? How you doing? I hope you're having a good Tuesday evening. And I could be doing better. I have a flu now. Joe of the Fire is in the pits, and we are missing this. He's in for fresh tires, no fuel, and now on the hard compound. He's out in 6th position, of course. Everybody has to use both compounds. That's something that I completely missed on, actually. Keeping that information. And yeah, John, being a cycling fan as well, I've seen my fair share of bike races on Dutch and Belgian TV. It got to teach you a little bit. So yeah, indeed, it is of course so that both tire compounds must be used for the race, which is of course why we're seeing Joe of the Fire on the hard compound now. He's very close to Wake CU in front. Oh, as he gets a big slide on upon the exit here as we go on board with Joe of the Fire on our way through the MotoGP chicane. See if he can get the exit upon the GTR in front. Certainly seems to be a little bit difficult for him. Of course, he'd be losing time in a situation like this at the moment, Joe of the Fire. And getting a great exit out of Spoon indeed. Wake CU makes it impossible for Joe to get any kind of move in. Digby is holding on to 2nd position after Joe of the Fire's pit stop, and both Digby and CJ still running the medium tires. Martin now up into 4th position, but that's of course because of the pit stops of Wake CU and Joe of the Fire earlier. And still with GT Welsh close on his tail, 13 laps of racing remaining. And also in behind these, both the cars of Wake CU and Joe of the Fire appearing. You could say that it's really worked wonders as an undercut for Wake CU so far, because he didn't manage to get out in front of Joe of the Fire. Of course now he's having to pit in once more because he needs to put on those hard tires for his last stint. So that's Wake, indeed. Still a bit of a battle going on. Just a second between Digby and CJ. But seemingly CJ losing out in this battle ever so slightly. And getting a good run here though. Getting a really good run indeed. .12 seconds down to Martin. Welsh still just about a second behind. Then it's Wake CU and Joe of the Fire working hard to close that gap, and they are really closing that gap quickly indeed. Look at that, that's Wake CU right on the tail of GT Welsh now. And of course you'd have to wonder if it's the right strategy. Of course it could be the only real strategy for Wake to run. Not really able to push in on and now CJ's pitting in. So a longer stint even from Digby. CJ having run the medium tire, the medium compound through his first stint, and that means he will be on the hard tire for the rest of the race. Now Welsh is in, and Welsh has started on the hard tire, so this is interesting that Welsh has actually managed to keep up in 6th position so far until his pit stop here on the hard tires. He will have a definite tire advantage for the last 12 laps of the race. A little bit of fuel, a little bit of damage to the car of Welsh. He rejoins in 7th position, though he is 17 seconds down on CJ. And CJ now 1.5 seconds down on Joe of the Fire still. So Wake CU's undercut has certainly helped. And he's now putting some distance in between himself and Joe of the Fire as well. So certainly looking strong, Wake CU at the moment. He's really showing that he has the pace to keep up with the rest of the top contenders, but mind you that he of course is in for another stop as well. And just to be absolutely dead sure of that, he is on the medium tires, and he's also running very low on fuel, so I think he will be on his way towards that second pit stop. And of course it is imperative that he gets absolutely maximum out of these couple of very fast laps he has, both fresh tires and relatively low fuel at the moment. Martin running a strong long stint, up in 3rd position at the moment. Of course a good deal of time behind Chomar and Digby. Of course Chomar and Digby still running on their first stints on the medium tires, and Chomar has a 29-second gap down to Digby. Digby now pitting in. So this is what we've also been waiting for. Let's see how he comes out and how he compares to Joe of the Fire and CJ. Let's see, still 1.5 seconds or just around between the two. Wake CU of course is going to get by, or so I would expect it at least, or I think it's going to be quite close actually. Oh, there comes Joe of the Fire. Oh, he's just passed, but CJ doesn't make it. So CJ seeming to be the loser in this pit stop round here, with Joe of the Fire managing to get out in front of Sam Digby, but only just indeed. It's very close between these two Brits. And also two drivers who really know each other from the last season of the TSR MotoGP Championship, where they had several very intense battles in the GT300 field. Same class as we are running now, of course. So being that both these drivers really know their way around. Now CJ with a big penalty, and could be a big problem for him. Let's see if we can get anything out of it. No, it seems he maybe went to pause for a second. He does have a very big penalty indeed. CJ, what have you done? But no damage indeed. But he's lost bucket loads of time. And Welsh is now catching up, and he's lost 6.5 seconds on Joe of the Fire and Sam Digby indeed. So that is, of course, far from optimal. Now it's Digby trying to move up the outside of Joe of the Fire, but he's going to be on the outside for 130R, and that's no place to be for an overtake. Oh, Joe of the Fire nearly overcooks it onto the AstroTurf. And the two are close to being side by side into the final chicane. Though it is Joe of the Fire managing to hold on now. It is finally pit stop time for Martin. He's really been stretching those medium tires, as 10 laps are remaining. Wake CU now in 2nd position, but only with a 4.3 second gap down to Joe of the Fire and Digby. So I think he's going to be having some kind of problems over the end. Storm Pacer's in for the last set of hard tires as well. Martin is out in 6th position, so Martin out in front of Welsh, and that's strong indeed. But Welsh, of course, on the medium tires now. I think that is going to make it complicated to keep the Welshman behind. For the Dutchman, and the Jag. And let's see here, Welsh, he gets it over really quickly indeed. On his way through the S's here, that's a brilliant move. Up the inside, here he goes. Boop, and that's over with. Grip advantage was indeed big. So Welsh up into 6th once more. It's Martin down in 7th position. Storm Pacer is 8th. It's White Flight in 9th. It's T5 Black in 10th position with Off Apple 11th. And Jimmy in 12th position. And at the top of affairs, it's still Chomar leading the race. He has a 43.7 second gap down to Wake CU, but he still needs to pit to put on the hot tires, but he's run over a very long time on those mediums nonetheless now. Wake CU still doing strong, still extending his gap, trying to pull out enough of an advantage to actually be able to pit and get out in front of Joe Off the Fire and Sam Digby. I do think it is going to be a difficult task at hand for the Belgian as he does pit in. And this is it. And that was absolutely on the limit. Just a single % of fuel left for Wake CU indeed. Oh, and now it's Sam Digby up the outside of Joe Off the Fire. And see if he can pull this out once more. Oh, no, he can't. It's a strong defensive showing from Joe Off the Fire indeed. Let's get a little replay showing here. Digby on the outside, attempting. But Joe keeps it all in line in the Corvette. Manages to keep his compatriot behind him. And up on the way through the S's, they are still very, very close indeed. CJ has lost out on a lot of time, and he's 7 seconds behind. But with 6 seconds down to the battle that is behind now, it's GT Welsh and Wake CU indeed, still quite close. Wake getting out in front of Martin. That's putting Martin down into 7th position. Storm Pacer 8th at the moment with White Flight in 9th. And that'll be T5 in 10th position. So have a look with Chomar. He's still running around. And he's still running 2:03, so that's pretty decent indeed. And that's T5 rejoining the track from the pits. Just behind the race leader now. Digby still right on the bumper of Joe Off the Fire. And still really no way through. Or so it seems. Let's go on board with Digby down towards the final chicane. Oh, as he sticks it out. Oh, that's a brilliant move from Sam Digby. They're side by side. Oh, and he makes it stick, I think. Or is it gonna be a cutback from Joe Off the Fire? They're still side by side. Here's an absolutely epic one. And Digby gets it. Digby gets it all the way at the end. Digby gets it. Let's see once more. Coming down towards the chicane, brakes very, very, very late. Manages to get his car on level terms. Gets in front. Joe gets the exit. But the Mustang has the grunt, and it ends up being in front. Sam Digby is really showing what kind of class he possesses here today. He is certainly doing strong. Let's see if he can break away from Joe Off the Fire now, who for so long has held on to that second place. Chomar still haven't pitted yet. That's worth noting. And down here it's T5 and Off Apple now getting involved with a little bit of a battle for 10th position. T5 in the Lexus RCF. It's Off Apple in the Nuke Shot BMW M6 in the junior mate. And T5 certainly strong pace-wise, it seems, compared to Apple at the moment. He's all over his bumper. Let's go up and check with White Flight. He's sort of isolated. Same goes for Storm Pacer. Same would go for Martin as well. Then in 6th position, it's Wake. He's lost a little bit of time to Welsh in front in the Honda NSX. The clash of the Japanese giants. Oh, and Welsh! Welsh gets it all wrong. Welsh gets it all. He gets onto the AstroTurf indeed. And goes massively sideways. Then a tank slapper. Should probably be happy about the ghosting out there, because that would have been a dreadful accident indeed. And no, we don't need to see it again. That was my mistake. So, big mistake there from Welsh, letting Wake through up into 5th position. CJ is 4th at the moment. Joe of the Fire still 3rd. Digby 2nd. Shomar leading. And then behind Welsh in 6th, it's Martin Heusen, Storm Pacer. It's White Flight, it's Off Apple, and it's T5 Black. So certainly a big moment there for Welsh, but he manages to keep it on track. And the only thing he really loses there is a big amount of tires indeed. Still going strong. Could easily have been much worse in that situation with a 360 spin on the exit from 130R at full speed. What we're seeing here is Digby now with almost a second of a gap down to Joe of the Fire. Impressive stuff from the Ford Mustang here. Certainly looking very strong indeed. And the closest battle pretty much at the moment is this one for 2nd position. Even though Digby is really hammering away at the moment, Joe of the Fire seeming to have a hard time keeping up. Let's have a look here. CJ 4th. Slightly isolated, but with the Wake CU, just around 4 seconds to the back. But at the same time also losing time to Joe of the Fire in front. It might show to be a difficult one for CJ today. And then it's Welsh in 6th. Now having to make a strong return if he is to gain one of those top 5 spots. Certainly looking like the competition is on some level here today. Within the first 6-7 cars at least. 8 Storm Pacer usually really on pace as well. So you'd expect that he's not having the easiest of times with the Ferrari 458. Definitely know that it is a twitchy car indeed. And it's certainly also not nice on its tires. And that in turn won't be helping Storm Pacer the least. Let's go on board with Welsh here. He's on a personal best through the first 2 sectors. And then into the hairpin here, of course, Welsh on the medium tires. You would expect him to have some kind of advantage at this point of the race. I'll say that there's only 5 laps remaining. Let's see Shomar, because well, he would need to pit at some point for the hard compound tires. Don't think he did it just yet. I certainly would be surprised to see that. Nope, he has not pitted yet. And he's still running that 54-second lead. Down to Sam Digby, Joe of the Fire 3rd. It's CJ 4th. It's Wake CU in 5th position. It's Welsh 6th with Martin Vijfhuizen in 7th. It's Storm Pacer 8th. It's White Flight, the Norwegian, in 9th, with the Swedish Survivor having moved up a place. T5 Black is up into 10th position on, and of course costs up Off Apple his spot in the top 10. Off Apple is down into 11th at the moment. Let's go back with Shomar and just enjoy some of that precision from the AS Monaco esports driver on his way through the spoon curves. And that is textbook stuff. So for anyone wishing to learn a bit about the lines of Suzuka, braking points, etc., check out this guy. That's top-notch precision. And same goes for the final chicane. Will this be the lap where he pits? Will not. That's somewhat of a surprise, indeed. So I do apologize, my level of coughing. So I've mentioned before, I've caught a flu. Doing my best to keep you entertained. Nevertheless, Sam Digby is holding on to that 1.5 second advantage down to Joe of the Fire. For a long time today, it's been Joe with the 1.5 second advantage. Now he's falling back ever so slightly from Sam Digby in front. And Wake is up past CJ, so CJ must have made some kind of mistake. I take it because he's down into 5th position. Wake CU up into 4th. But Wake in turn, I think, also has to pit in for a set of hards here at the end of the race. He's still on the mediums. I actually don't know what kind of penalty it would come to if a driver should fail to use both compounds as stated in the rules that they have to. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. Don't know yet. They still have a couple of laps left to do so. And the same, of course, goes for Shomar, our race leader. I think he's run a no-stop so far. Digby second. Status quo between himself and Joe of the Fire. That Corvette close, but not close enough. Oh, a little bit wide there from Digby, allowing Joe of the Fire also just to catch up by a 10th or 2. It's Wake CU still 4th, with a personal best from him. But he'll need some kind of miracle in order to be able to pull off that pit stop that he needs. It'll be interesting to see where he'll be able to rejoin. Welsh certainly isn't too far back. Now Martin a little bit further behind in the Jaguar. He's on his way just out of that moto chicane. Storm Pacer a wee bit under 20 seconds behind Martin at the moment, but also on an island with a nice gap down to White Flight. Oh, and Joe of the Fire is now beginning to catch up, I think, to Sam Digby. It's all of a sudden gone the other way for a bit, and we haven't seen that too much over the final couple of laps. A little bit of a flash there from Joe of the Fire as well. Might that be a problem for Sam Digby? His tires might also just be going at the moment. Certainly doesn't look like it. Certainly doesn't look like it at all, actually. 3 laps left now. 3 laps left. It's actually closer to 2 laps left for Shomar, and he really needs to take that pit stop soon if he is to stay within the rules, the Frenchman here, because it simply isn't allowed to run through the race on a no-stopper, since you have to use both compounds of tires. And that only leaves him to stop on the last lap now. Joe of the Fire still closing that gap. ever so slowly. Looking to get within a second of Sam Digby. Behind it is Wake CU, it's CJ and GT Welsh indeed. And here with the race control also reminding both Wake and Chomar that they still have the racing hard tire to use indeed. So as we mentioned just before here, it is indeed true that both Chomar and Wake still needs to pit in order to avoid the disqualification. Oh, as Digby gets a little bit wide. Digby gets a little bit wide there and certainly opens the door for Joe of the Fire, who in turn also get a better exit from the chicane. He's now within the slipstream. Wake is into the pits though. Let's see where he can get out. See if he can hold 6th position in front of Mr. Vijfhuizen. It'll certainly be interesting. Wake is out and he is in front. See where is Martin? No, there's still a decent gap. So Wake stays 6th. And Joe of the Fire now really closing that gap up to Sam Digby. He's found something extra. And now he's managing to put on that final bit of pressure. And in turn, it might still change all along. This race for 2nd position. CJ 7.2 seconds behind, so I think it would require some kind of incident between these two for him to catch up. Now Chomar is in for his first and his only pit stop, as he's going to be switching to the Racing Hard compound, and he's going to be using that for a single round. Though a little bit cheeky indeed, but what a job he's done of actually saving those mediums and be able to pretty much just run the entire race distance on one set of medium tires, staying competitive all the way through and just absolutely thrashing the competition here. We are following Joe of the Fire with just a little bit more than a single lap left. He's just within 0.3 of a second. And he's ever closing up to Sam Digby in front. Digby is in the Ford Mustang. And it's of course Joe of the Fire in the Chevy Corvette. Now only a couple of tenths once more as they are on their way down the straight here. And Joe up the outside. Joe up the outside is the final lap now. Oh, brilliant defending from Digby indeed. On board now with Digby and the rearwards facing cam. Oh, this is gonna be a battle all the way to the line, I believe, between these two. Oh, it's within 0.2 now, these two drivers so close to one another. Oh, Joe just thought he was gonna lose it, but he manages to keep the tail in his place. Oh, and that's a lunge for the outside, and it might turn into a cutback move. Digby, though, managing to just hold up Joe of the Fire. That is the way to go on Suzuka. It's really possible to defend for all that money's worth. Digby gets a great exit, a really great exit indeed. Now on the way down to Spoon, Chomar has crossed the line. He is, of course, the winner. And congratulations to the AS Monaco esports driver. Congratulations to the 10X Mercedes team for victory in the opening race of this new season. Now let's see if Joe of the Fire will be able to make some kind of insane move. Digby goes a little bit wide there. I think it's not going to be possible for Joe of the Fire. It will require a brilliant exit. It's going to take it to the line, but I think it's going to be Sam Digby for 2nd position. It most certainly is. It most certainly is. Joe of the Fire takes third. Fourth so far it seems to be CJ, finishing right in front of GT Welsh. And CJ really needs to do that stop with that crashing on the finish line. Because why does everybody else have to get that yellow flag? Anyway, it's Wake CU finishing in 6th position on a 3-stopper. It's Martin Vijversen in 7th. Glad I just figured out about that name anyways. Storm Pacer in the end coming home for 8th position. Just look at the rear end of the 458. Seems twitchy indeed. And it has taken a couple of knocks whatsoever. Certainly had some problems with that. Brings it home for 8th position. We've had off Apple across the line already, so it's the 2 Scandinavians. T5 Black in 9th position and White Flight in 10th. Certainly hasn't been a day really to remember for any of our Scandinavian contenders here today. Both of them are quite strong on their days, but haven't really been their days today. Of course, same goes for White Flight, who's the last we need to get across the line. And with that, we're just going to have a look at Shamar, our race leader, our winner. And that concludes the opening round of the TSR GT300 Championship. A big congratulations to our winner. As you see on screen right now, it is a very certain Frenchman. And that concludes the first race of this series. Of course, there is quite a bit of details to get used to here, but I quite like the format of putting race and qualifying together in that style, because it opens up some new strategical ways of changing the racing and just spicing it up a little bit. Also with that extra chicane, gave for some really good action indeed. And except for that, well, of course, come next weekend, or come this weekend, come Friday, it's time for the IGTL. It's time for the 3 hours of Saint Croix. Of course, we're going to be covering qualifying on Friday, and then the promotional race, which both Trials and I will be taking place in a split seat car, as we did last time. It was the Porsche Caymans. This time we're in the Toyota 86 Group 4 on sport soft tires. It's going to be quite interesting. And then of course the main race on Saturday night, and it's the grid is even more insane. We have I can say as much as that we have an Italian YouTube star from way back, since one of the first real sim racing YouTubers. We have a real GT3 champion on the grid, and I think that'll be enough for now as well. Of course, there's still spots open in the series for reserves. So if you feel like racing in this league, if you feel like racing in the series, find the thread on GTPlanet. It's called the TSR GT300 Championship, and sign up for one of the teams. And in case the first driver misses a race, it'll be you who'll be called upon and to join in to race in this awesome series. And yeah, with that said, I think my flu-hit body would very much like a rest. So it's been such a pleasure having you along for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone, and hope you like this first regular live broadcast, and regular in the sense that we will do it on a regular basis, week after week after week, with these live broadcasts from now on. So I certainly hope that you liked it out there, and if you did, of course, like the video, and if you haven't already, and if you like our content, then do please also subscribe to be able and to be sure that you don't miss our content in the future. So with that said, I will see you for, or we will see you, Trials and I will see you for the IGTL weekend that is to come. We are very, very hyped for it. Of course, also do check out our Twitter profile, where you can stay updated with stuff that's about this channel. We also have a Discord. If you really feel in the channel, go check out our little cozy Discord community. And yeah, with that said, my name is DirtenDK. You have been watching Half the Race Gone, and until next time, take care, have fun, and bye bye.